Hi everyone, welcome back to Lisa's Movie Reviews. I'm going to be doing something a little different. I'm going to be doing 5 different videos about my top 5 most favorite fantasy films ever. Now, all of these fantasy films are from the 80s because the 80s had the best fantasy films, in my opinion. So, this video is going to be number 5, and I'm going to work up to number 1, what I think is my most what is my most favorite fantasy movie ever. But I want to really quickly give what they call a little honorable mentions of movies, because I love so many fantasy films. A lot of them are from the 80s, and some are from the 70s. Not all of them, not really a lot of them, but there's only a few. But still, my honorable mentions that could have been in the top 5, but ultimately didn't make it. So, honorable mentions are The Witches, of Angelica Houston, Dragon Slayer. That's one of my earliest memories of watching any kind of movie, not just a fantasy movie, just any kind of movie. It was Dragon Slayer. The Dark Crystal, Pan's Labyrinth, Time Bandits, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Those are my honorable mentions, and I'm sure there's tons more, because now I'm sitting here thinking, oh, there's so many more. Page Master was one of my favorites. I know I'm missing a lot. I don't consider Goonies fantasy, though. Is it to you? Is it not? I don't know. But to me, it's not. So, we're going to start with number 5. Number 5 is my most favorite fantasy movie. And that movie is Labyrinth from 1986. Let me just move my papers around here. Okay, get them out of my way. Alright, number 5, Labyrinth from 1986. Now, this is directed by Jim Henson. I got my notes, so I don't want to forget anything. Directed by Jim Henson, produced by George Lucas, and the music was by Trevor Jones. And very simple cast, really just 2 main characters, but a whole bunch of other puppets, and voice actors. But the 2 main characters, Sarah is played by Jennifer Connelly, and of course, Jareth the Goblin King is played by David Bowie. Now, I knew who David Bowie was when I was a kid. Okay, I knew who he was, but when the first time I came across Labyrinth, I don't remember how old I was, but when the first time I came across Labyrinth was an old VHS copy, and it was that beautiful illustrated cover. When Sarah doesn't look anything like Jennifer Connelly, if you know what I mean, that little, it's kind of oval shaped, and you have all these different characters, and her in that really pretty pink dress, and him on top with the crystal ball. I thought that who that person was on that illustrated cover was a female. I did not think it was David Bowie. I didn't have a picture in my mind what David Bowie looked like. Like I said, I knew who he was. I knew his music. I just didn't see that was David Bowie. I thought it was a chick. Honestly, it looked quite feminine. He does look quite feminine, I guess, in this movie. But of course, seeing the movie and him in his little tight leggings, it's not a chick. It's David Bowie. It's a man. So, it's a man. And this is my anniversary edition DVD. I don't know, this doesn't really, it's got like this little 3D kind of thing. It doesn't really do anything, but that's what it looks like. This is the back. It just has a documentary about making it. Actually, it has a few documentaries about making it, some behind the scenes of making it, the movie. Here's the DVD case. Here's a 2-disc movie and special features. Okay? Now, the movie is about a 15-year-old girl named Sarah, played by Jennifer Connelly, who is obsessed with fantasy and clings to her old toys and imaginations. She stays home with her baby brother one night when she doesn't want to, a baby brother named Toby, and she's frustrated with him constantly crying, and she rashly wishes Toby to be taken away by the goblins. Obviously she doesn't mean it because she doesn't think it would work, but it does work, and the Goblin King takes Toby away. And he says, well, if you want him back, I'm going to give you 13 hours to solve my labyrinth, or he will be a goblin. You'll never see him again. So the whole movie is about her going through the labyrinth, meeting all these different characters who'd be her friends, and, it's a silly movie. It's a funny, it's funny, silly, it's cute, definitely for kids. Of course, I think some kids in my time wouldn't really think of his clothes as being kind of provocative. As us now, you're like, was a poor choice for a costume. But that was just, you know, it's just funny. But my notes about this is it had great puppet work, great puppetry, is that what you call it? Puppeteer work. The conceptual designs are by Brian Frow, so it was very awesome, very fantastical. The music was, the music in the movie was quite original, because there's original songs by David Bowie in it, because there's some, obviously, songs that he's singing in it. There is, how many? There's not a lot of musical numbers in the movie. I think there's maybe 3? 4? I'm not sure. I can't remember. I liked the characters. They were cute characters. Ludos or Didymus, and the wise man in his hat was my favorite. Me and my sisters get a kick out of that thing. Like I said, it's a Jim Henson thing, and I grew up watching Jim Henson work before, and I loved the puppets and the Muppets and all that, so I just cling to this when I was a kid, and I still like it today. It's a cult classic. Or maybe it could, was it popular when it came out? I'm not sure. I don't think it got that many good reviews, but it instantly became a classic with young kids. And it still is a classic with people who grew up loving David Bowie and fantasy films like me. So I give this movie a B-. The storyline kind of got muddled for me. It's like you're supposed to be in a hurry, but there was times when she was just hanging out. But at least she kept her attention onto something else. But, oh, see, I can't really rate anything so bad. If I'm doing a movie review and it's one of my favorite movies, I can't rate it too bad. So this is a B- for me. What would you rate Labyrinth? Did you like it as a kid? Did you ever watch it? Have you never watched it? If you haven't watched it, definitely check it out. If you love David Bowie, you should check this out. I don't think his acting was that bad. People said his acting was really awful. I don't know where they got that from. I thought he was great. He was meant to play the Goblin King. I can't remember who was supposed to play him first. Was it Mick Jagger? God, I hope not. And I'm glad that never happened. David Bowie was perfect in this, as well as Jennifer Connelly, not one of her very first movies, but whatever. I can't remember what number. She was 16 when she did this. I don't know. I really don't. I don't know much about Jennifer Connelly's movie role she's done besides this and some other things. So I would give this a B-. It's a classic if you like Jim Henson work. This is great. Just like the Dark Crystal was, but Dark Crystal didn't really get up there for me. Labyrinth was better to me than Dark Crystal, and I'm sure some people will say, no, Dark Crystal was definitely better than Labyrinth. We'll agree to disagree. But check this out. Number 5 is Labyrinth. Thanks for watching, guys.